The human body is made up of at least 80% water. And some new research suggests it may be made up of at least 98% water. There is no metabolic process that can happen without water. So that means we can't eat, sleep, digest, or even think without water. So that's why it's really important that the water we drink be totally pure and clean. In 2003, Peter Agre was awarded the Nobel Prize for discovering something called an aquaporin channel, which is like the plumbing that the cell uses to bring water into its nucleus. And the only way that our cells can receive water through these channels is one molecule at a time. Otherwise, our body has to expend a lot of energy to break the water down to get it into the cell. Have you ever experienced drinking tons of water but still feeling dehydrated? That usually has to do with the surface tension in the water. There's a measurement called dynes, and the cells of our body can't take in water that is over 46 dynes. But most tap and bottled water are between 72 and 84 dynes. That basically means that the cluster of molecules is twice the size of what the cells of the body can take in directly. What the natural action water does is it uses a double vortex to almost dance the water molecules apart, so they're structured in such a way that they can enter directly into your cells to be able to nourish your body and your life force. One of the other things that science is beginning to point to is that water has memory. It's like a computer that maintains the energetic imprint of everything that it passes through and around. Nature has a beautiful hydrological system. Water evaporates. It comes down as rain. It goes into the lakes and ponds and onto the ground. Then it evaporates again, and it keeps repeating this process. And each time it does it, it structures the water. But unfortunately, the air on the planet has become toxic. As water comes down into the atmosphere, it picks up the toxicity of everything that's around it and brings it into the lakes and streams and builds on the toxicity over and over again. So we get these huge clusters of water molecules. And remember, our cells can't take in that huge cluster of water molecules. It can only take in one molecule at a time. So we need to expend a ton of energy to break down that cluster. Clayton Nolte, the inventor of the natural action technology, uses the analogy that the amount of energy that it would take to break down that cluster is the same amount of energy that you could use to light up an entire house for a month. So already, because of pollution, we're going to have these large clusters that don't normally occur. But with city water, it's even worse. Cities don't let water go back to nature. They reprocess it, sometimes 20 times with chemicals, and put it back into the system over and over again before it evaporates and goes back into the ground. All of these chemicals and processes create clusters that are anywhere from 1,000 to even 10,000 times too large for our cells to process. And then the body has to spend massive amounts of energy to break these clusters down into a usable form. The natural action technology erases this memory from the water and allows the water to return to its pristine state. So the water is now in smaller clusters so that it can enter directly into the cell with no energy expended at all. It uses the water as its only moving part to create a double vortex to recode the water molecule, in essence, resetting the DNA of the water. One way to understand this idea of water retaining memory is to look at a study that was done in Germany where they dehydrated tap water. And when you dehydrate water, what's left are calcium salts and a few other elements. So what they did is they looked at the mineral imprint of the calcium, and what they found was that it had a 90-degree angle. This was the tap water. Then they looked at structured water, and they found that the structured water actually had a 60-degree angle. In the picture on the left, you can see the angles of the natural action water show mostly 60-degree angles. This means that all toxins have been neutralized, and basically the memory of the water has been erased. The tap water on the right shows almost exclusively 90-degree angles, meaning that the water is still holding on to all the toxins. So that's the difference between the structured water and the unstructured water. So what does this mean for us? The 60-degree angle demonstrates that even when toxins like fluoride or chlorine are still present in the water, the energetic imprint has been erased. So the toxins pass straight through your body's elimination system. So again, the charge of the toxins is gone, and the toxins never enter our bloodstream or our organs. When you filter water, all you're doing is taking the physical components out of the water. But if you think about when you eat an apple, what is it that's actually remaining in your body? And the answer is the energy, not the physical components. So everything physical that we eat or drink comes out of your elimination system. Everything physical that we eat or drink comes out of the elimination system. So when you're filtering the water, you may be taking the physical toxins out, but the energy of the toxins is still remaining. So the difference between structuring water and filtering water is that when you structure the water, you might not even need to take the physical components out because you're taking the energetic components out, and that's the thing that remains. So that's the thing that's the most harmful. Some people still like to filter their water because filtering the water will actually eliminate some physical components that may enhance the taste of the water. So if you're already filtering the water, you can continue to do that. But what I like to do is make sure that the water is structured, because that's when I can ensure that the energy and the memory of all the toxins has been eliminated. As the water passes through the unit, it creates two spirals, one to the left and one to the right simultaneously. This erases the stagnant and toxic energies and transforms the arrangement of the molecules into happy, living water. Gas discharge visualization, or GDV, is a way to measure the energy coming out of water. And this technology was used in some studies to measure the difference in energy coming out of distilled water, well water, and structured water. And what they found was that the distilled water was a very dim light, meaning that there was very little energy coming out of the water. With the well water, it was slightly brighter than the distilled water. But in contrast, the structured water was actually bursting with light and energy, as can be seen here. There's a natural action unit for a lot of different needs. My favorite is the portable unit, which is like a funnel. So you can take it with you to restructure any water that you're drinking and energize it. And also it helps when you have fruits and vegetables that have lost a little bit of their vitality. You can take the structured water and let's say you have some kale or some broccoli or some blueberries and soak them in the structured water, and it totally revitalizes them and brings back the energy. Or if you're out to eat at a restaurant, you can actually put a little bit of structured water. You can even spray it on your food, and it will help to restructure everything that you're eating. I really like this because I travel so much, and it means that I don't really need to worry about my water anymore, especially because we can't take our own water on airplanes anymore. And wherever it is, if I'm at a hotel or anywhere, I can use the natural action unit and just restructure the water myself, and I don't even have to buy bottled water, which I don't like to do because I don't like to use plastic. So it comes in really, really handy, especially when you're traveling. There's also a shower unit. So even the water that you shower with or even bathe in, because you can fill the bathtub with it, is going to be in its pristine state. Now, this is very important because the amount of water that enters the body when you're taking a shower is actually a lot. It comes right through the skin and your pores. And also the heat, when you take a shower, that heat makes the chlorine, if the water's been chlorinated, makes it easier for the chlorine to enter your body. This is really important for detoxification, especially when you're using water that's been chlorinated or fluoridated, because that's going straight into your skin when you take a shower or a bath with that water. A lot of people notice that their skin starts to look more radiant after they started showering or bathing in the Natural Action water. Another great thing about the Natural Action devices is that the way that they're designed, nothing ever needs to be replaced. So once you have one, you have it for a lifetime. And in fact, Natural Action has a lifetime warranty. So even if you break it, you can send it back to them and they'll replace it free of charge. Natural Action water is also incredible for gardening. When there's a lot of calcium on the surface of the soil, it's very hard for the seeds to germinate, and sometimes they won't germinate at all. Natural Action water neutralizes the calcium, making it easier for the seeds to germinate and grow. Natural Action water also makes it easier for the plant cells to absorb the water. So you actually end up using about half the amount of water that you normally would. There's 2 gardening units, a small and a large unit, and these units hook up to the gardening hose, which is great because you can really help your plants thrive and become much more nutritious. There's a measurement called Brix that will help to identify the sweetness or nutritional value of a fruit. And you can test this with something called a Brix meter. So there have been some studies with strawberries where they watered the strawberries and they were trying to test the difference between using unstructured water and structured water. And what they found was that the strawberries that were watered with unstructured water had a Brix, an average of about 7. Now, to sell a strawberry in the market, you want it to be a Brix of about 10. So what they found is when using structured water, the Brix went up to 14. Since I started using the garden unit in my garden, I noticed that the persimmons on my persimmon tree have doubled in quantity and quality. Another great option is the whole house unit. And I love this unit because it attaches right to the cold water line that runs into your house. And then you're getting structured water everywhere in the house, in your kitchen sink, in your bathroom sink where you brush your teeth, in your shower, anywhere in the house where you have water. A lot of people like to use the unit that attaches under the sink. And this is handy for a couple of reasons. First of all, because you can just turn on the faucet, put your cup or whatever you have under the faucet, and you know you have structured water. Since I love to get as much energy as possible, I use the whole house unit in conjunction with the shower unit, the under the sink unit, and the portable. So when I'm drinking water, I have it structured at least 3 times, and sometimes I'll do it even more. Each time you run it through a structuring unit, it energizes the water even more. So Clayton Nolte suggests to run it through up to 6 times to get the maximum amount of energy. If you're on a larger scale, you can use the commercial unit, which is great for farming, for swimming pools, or for a larger commercial building. Because structured water has the ability to affect all the water around it, the potential healing benefits for the individual and the entire planet are tremendous.